Today's topic is triads. We haven't talked about triads yet, but we're going to talk about that today. Triads are some of the essential building blocks when you're coming up with an idea for your song. It helps you build the chords you need to back up whatever melody you might have. So I was hoping that you could work with me together. So if you could open up MuseScore, that's what I have open right now. I'm just going to make a C major scale. It's the one we've been using for the last couple lessons when we've been using MuseScore. And again, I tend to focus on the piano for a couple reasons. You can play more than one note at a time, and it also has both a bass clef and a treble clef. So we're just going to add that to our document, and then we have a empty score. Might as well give this a title, and we're going to call this one Triads. Now you've heard the word tricycle and things like that. So the word triad does imply something counting up to 3. So we're looking at triads. So there's no subtitle on this one. If you could put in your name to the right, that would be helpful. So we'll just say your name. For me, I'll just put in my name. But if you could put your name on it, in case it gets lost out of your folder, you can find it again. And here we're just going to put in a C major scale. You can use your little keyboard to type this in if you have your MIDI controller plugged in, or you could just put it in this way. We're going to use, I guess we'll use whole notes because it'll give us a little bit more space. And we're going to start out with just a C major scale. We know that this line is G, so C is going to be one line below the top staff, at least in the treble clef. So if you choose the pencil and a whole note, then we should be able to write that whole note. So that's here. And then going up, alternating between lines and spaces. If you miss one like I did there, you can use the arrow key to go up. It goes up by half steps, I guess. And then there's A, B, and C. Okay. So there's our triads there's our scale, C major scale. That's what we're starting with. And we're just following the major scale formula. If you know the formula, it's whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That's what we're looking at. I'm also going to bring up like say, keyboard on the screen. Let's see, that's always helpful. So let's see if I can find it. Keyboard. There it is, piano keyboard. So now we can talk about what we're working on. Okay, so it's funny I'm looking at the piano keyboard because yesterday I was taking apart a synthesizer, actually just a keyboard controller, and had a lot of problems. Did fix it, but took quite a while. So to make a triad, what you do is you just stack 2 more notes on top. If the starting note is on a line, it's the next 2 lines above where the note is. If the starting note is on a space and not on a line, then it goes in the spaces. So let's try that here. How would you add more notes to that? Well, we want an E there as well. So we can be in writing mode. Let's see what happens when we do that. We go to writing mode, and then we say E. See how it replaces the E? We really don't want it to do that, right? We'd like to just add to it. So let's try again. I'm going to get rid of this note and see if I can just put the notes in one on top of the other. So we're starting with C, and I'm just stacking them up. And now I have a triad. Notice how every note, if we zoom in a bit, you can see that every note is just stacked on top of each other. If it starts on a line, then the next 2 are lines. If it starts on a space, then the next 2 are spaces. So again, I'm just grabbing whole notes, making sure the pencil's on, and adding those notes to the top. Excuse me over before I was ready. Here. Here's starts on the line, so the next two lines. It starts on space, and then continuing until we get back to our C. Okay. I'm going to pause for a second to see if I can get system sounds on. Hang on just a moment. Alright, so I didn't quite see a way to turn on the system sounds, but you don't actually need to hear it per se. And here's what it looks like, and zoom out a bit so you can see what that looks like. Now, these triads, they come in three different flavors. One is called a major triad, and another one's called the minor triad, and then finally, the last type is called the diminished triad. We're going to look at all three. Here's our chord. If I select all these notes, if I hit shift, you can see which three are chosen, right? These three notes on the piano. Now, in previous classes, we talked about the difference between a whole step and a half step. On a piano, a half step is just the next key. So sometimes there's a black key, sometimes there's not, right? So right here, notice there's no black key, so a half step would be from here to here. But on those keys that have a black key next to it, it's just one key away. So you just, a half step would be here, a whole step would be two half steps, and then a minor third would be 1, 2, 3 half steps, or 1.5 half steps, and then a major third would be 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't start counting on the first one. It's the one that's next to it. So we're talking about these intervals. So if we look at this first interval, if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, we know that 4 half steps make a minor third. So how we're going to write that down? Let's just make some text here. To staff text, that's too much of a pain. Let's see if there's just standard text, system text. How about that? We'll go with that. And we'll say, let's put it down here. Doesn't like it. Okay, so I'm going to attach it to maybe this, and then I'll add the system text. I just want standard text. Anything. No. Okay, so I guess we go with just system text. Here, system text. And we've got lots of them. Wants to put them on the system, so that's the problem. And I'm trying not to do that. How about just want to type? It's not that hard. Okay, we'll just say expression then. So here's our expression. We're going to move it down here. We're going to, still trying to keep it in the middle there. Just trying to get it underneath this thing. Try one more time. I'll try this one. Expression. Here we go. And what we want to say is something called a minor second is the same as a half step. So you just go up a half step. So on the piano, if you were on C, a minor second above or a half step above would be this one, this black key. It's just one. Up one key. Okay. Now, major second equals a whole step. And so 2 halves make a whole, so that's the same as 2 half steps. Half steps. How many keys up is that on the keyboard? So up 2 keys. Remember, you don't start counting on you don't count the first one, you count the second one. All right. Next one after that is a minor third. which is equivalent to 1 1/2 steps. That's 3 half steps. And that's up 3 keys on the keyboard, counting both black and white keys. Next one we're looking at is a major third, which is equivalent to 2 whole steps, which is the same as 4 half steps. And you go up from where you started 4 keys. So using this chart, the question is, what are the intervals between each of these notes in this triad? Well, we look at the first one. We're going from C, right? Like if we mark it here, I'm just holding down the shift key so I can get the whole thing. All of them are marked. You can see which notes they are on the piano. If you play them, they sound like that. But we're going to just count how many keys does it take to get from there to there. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't include the first one. 1, 2, 3. I go up 4. If I look at my little chart here, it says 4 half steps, or 4 keys, is equivalent to a major third. So we know this first interval is a major third. But then let's count from this one to the next one in the triad. 1, 2, 3. We only have 3 half steps to get there. So when we have 3 half steps, see that one there? That's equivalent to a minor third. So this first chord is made up of a major third and then a minor third, starting from the bottom. So when you have that, I'm going to continue to use this, I guess. You can say a major triad is made up of a major third, well, yeah, first a major third and then a minor third. Okay. So the first one is a major third because we had to go up 4 keys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after that, you go up a minor third. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's that one there. So that's how we know that that's a major chord. Now the way we write these chords, you could write the letter C above because that's the name of the chord, C major, right? But what we do when we're doing music theory is we use italicized, not italicized, but capitalized letters. So we're going to just add some staff text right there, and we're going to say, okay, this is a major chord. And the way we show a major chord in music theory is we put a 1, because it's built starting on the first note of that scale for that key. So we're starting on C, and this is the key of C. So we put a capital 1 in there, and that's a 1 in like Roman numerals, right? We use Roman numerals for these chords. Another name for this would be C major, right? So you could say that on the bottom, maybe some more staff text, and we'll put it down below, and we'll say, if there's a way to get it to point upwards. I don't think so. Try again. Try this. So the name of this chord, right? This chord is made up of 3 notes, and it's a C major triad. We're just going to say C major. That's the name of the chord. All right, now we look at the next chord. I'm going to select all of them. I can just select the measure. And you can see it highlights those notes on the piano. The question is that a half, or is that a minor third or a major third? Let's take a look. We start here on the D, and we're trying to go up to this darkened key. So we count up how many keys away it is. Not, we don't count the first key, but every one that follows. So there's 1, 2, 3. We only go up 3. Well, 3 half steps is equivalent to a minor third. So we have a minor third at the bottom, and then we count up from this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a minor third on the bottom and a major third at the top. So it's just the opposite of a major triad. We can say a minor triad is made up of a minor third and then a major third. So it's just flipped over from what we learned in the last one. So you start with a minor third, but then you have a major third on top. The interval between the top and the bottom of those stay the same. Those are fifths. So here, the way we would write that in Roman numerals, I think we use staff text, we would say, okay, that's a D minor chord, or it's the second chord in the scale. So we're going to say, the way you write that, you just use a lowercase Roman numeral. So instead of uppercase I, we're going to use 2. It's the second chord in the scale, but we make it lowercase to indicate that it's minor. Another way you could write it, say you're writing a chord sheet for a bass player, a piano player, or a guitar player, you would say, well, that chord in itself is called D minor. Notice I deliberately not capitalizing the word minor. Okay. So we have C major, which is the 1 chord, D minor, which is the 2 chord. Let's look at this 3 chord. So I'm just selecting the whole measure, looking at the keys that are marked here on the piano. The question is, okay, are we talking about major thirds or minor thirds basically at this point? So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, only 3 for the first interval, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for the second interval. So it's a minor third and a major third. There's the minor third, and then the major third is 4 steps, right? We counted 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, we have a minor third, and above that, a major third. That's the same as this one. So that also would be considered a minor chord. So the way you write that again is we're using Roman numerals. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but that's 3 I's in a row, but we're going to keep them lowercase. And that's equivalent, if you want to give a name to this chord, this would be E minor. Now sometimes when you write chords, a lot of people just put a lowercase m for minor. That's why we're using lowercase up here as well. So they don't type out the word minor or even major. If there isn't anything there, it's assumed to be major. But if there's a minor written like this or this, those are both minor triads. And the way you show that in music theory is you put the Roman numeral 3 in lowercase. Now, one of the most popular chords to use in any song, apart from the 1 chord, is the 4 chord. So we're going to look at this 4 chord. In the key of C, the 4 chord is F, right? That's an F. So let's select that and see what that looks like on the piano. Let's see, we're starting with F. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a major third on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and a minor third on top. Well, remember that when we have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on top, then that makes it a major triad. So we know this next chord is major. So what do? Well, we're going to add that staff text, I guess. And we're going to say, okay, so we know the formula now. We have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on top. that's going to be a major chord. So we put that in Roman numerals. The way Roman numerals work is this is the number 5, and this 1 represents the number right before the number 5. It's kind of a weird way of doing numerals. But that's the way that's the way they did it back a long time ago. So we use capital letters because it's major. How would you write that as a chord name? So you've given this to a guitar player to play. You would just say F. Okay. If you don't say minor or major, it's assumed to be major. So we have C, D minor, E minor, and F. That's the 4 chord. The next one, super important chord as well. It's used almost in every song ever written in any key. This is probably, apart from the 1 chord, the other chord that gets used the most is this one. It's the 5 chord, but we've got to figure out whether it's major, minor, or diminished. Well, let's look at that. We've got, let's just count, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 half steps, and then 1, 2, 3 half steps. So 4 half steps is a major third, and 3 half steps is the minor. And we said, well, a major triad is made up of a major third and then a minor third if you're starting from the bottom. So just like the F, it's a major chord. So up on top then, we're going to add some staff text and say, yeah, this is a major 5. So we're going to put a 5 there, but capitalize it. That's what 5 looks like in Roman numerals. And then what chord is this? Again, we can just use a letter using this. So I'm going to say, well, this is a G major triad. So we just say G. Right? What names the chord is the bottom note when they're all squished together like that. That's the name of the chord. Next chord is the 6th chord, but is it minor or major? Let's find out. So I select it. Let's count. Starting here, there's the A. 1, 2, 3. There's only 3 on the bottom, so that's a minor third. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a major third. So if you have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on top, that makes it this one, a minor triad. So we know this next chord is minor. We're at the letter G. We can't go any further. There's no H in music, so you start over with the letter A. So let's first put maybe some staff text on top. So we know this chord is a minor chord. In most Western music, this is what a lot of the music is based on. Is these different triads. What minor chord is that? Well, it starts with an A, so that's its name. So we're going to use this, and we're going to say the shortened form of the name of the chord. We'll just say A, and then a lowercase m, A minor. All right, 2 more to go. This one's the weird one, okay? If we count up and we say, well, not counting the first one, 1, 2, 3. So that's the first interval, 3 half steps, and then 1, 2, 3, only 3 half steps. So we have 2 minor thirds that make up this triad. We haven't figured that one out yet. So we say this. We say a diminished triad is made up of or we could say of 2 minor thirds. Okay. Because there's only 3 keys starting from where you're starting to get to the next key in the triad. So that one's kind of weird because it has 2 minor intervals between the notes. So how would you write that? Well, this one's kind of hard because I don't know if they have a symbol for that. I won't see it there. But the way you'd write this is if you don't have the symbol, usually people just use a circle. A little tiny circle looks like a degree sign, but we can say this. We can say a 7, and And then we can say the word dim. So it's a diminished seventh chord. Use lowercase for that. Usually put a little circle here, or maybe a half circle with a slash through it if it's a say minor 7 flat 5, but here we're just saying dim for diminished. How would you write that here? You would say, well, I guess that's B and then dim. Usually capitalize the B though. The name of the chord is typically always capitalized. So B diminished or B with a little circle there. And then finally, hopefully we get back to C, which would be the same as this one. So now we get back to 1. Okay, so we're back to C, or an octave higher than where we started. That's not going to change. That's still going to be a 1. So we add staff text for doing that. And we're say back to 1. Now remember, 1 is a major chord, so we do that. It's a major third and minor third on top. And so finally we're back to C. And we can just say, now that we know, if we just write the letter, that means major. So we're going to do that. Say major. C major. All right, so when you're done with this worksheet, this is what you need to print out and turn in to the basket so we can put it in your folder, or I'll make an assignment for it and you can turn it in electronically. Either one. And then I'll print them out and put them in your folder. So now we know the 3 types of triads that you would find in a major key is major 1, minor 2, minor 3, major 4, major 5, minor 6, finally a diminished 7, and then back to 1 again. So that's triads, at least for the major scale. But we're going to try a couple other ones next time. So don't turn in this worksheet quite yet, because we're going to be adding a little bit more to it down here as we go through the other types of triads. If you're writing a song, what's the most important chords to probably use in your song? For rock songs or country songs, the ones most people use are 1, 4, and 5. Those are the big 3. So you want to write a song, you don't want to get really fancy with it, you can just stick with 1 chord, 4 chords, or 5 chords in whatever key you're playing it in. And it'll sound pretty good. You can make tons of songs just with those 3 chords. Hopefully this was interesting about triads. We're going to expand upon this a little bit later, so we've got to get this sorted out. So make sure your worksheet looks something like this when you're done. And then, like I said, we're going to add some more info to this, maybe down here at the bottom. Hang on to this one until we get to that. All right, thanks for listening. So what does this sound like? Let's take a listen. Just hit the play button. That's about it.